Okay, should be all
Okay,
right now.
thank you. Thank you. Okay, can you see my screen?
It's just coming up now. There we go. Before I start, I will say something that I was bearing in mind when I was looking at these is advice that I've heard at the club many times over the years from people like John Michael and Howard, which is when you're photographing graffiti, don't just take a photo of the graffiti, because that's not your work, that's the graffiti artist's work. So the advice is to try to bring your own angle to it, try to do something a bit different with it to make it your work rather than just theirs. The vast majority of these photos do that. And the first one here is a great example of it. If you look at the graffiti in the background compared to the foreground, it mirrors each other. The graffiti is a guy on the bike, the foreground is a guy on the bike. I don't know how long he had to wait to get this shot, whether it was luck, whether it was set up, but it works really, really nicely. A lot of the photos, and this is an example, the graffiti almost isn't the focal point. It's something that you look at later on, which I really, really like. It makes you look at it, it makes you consider it, and it takes everything into consideration, the foreground, the context, and everything that's going on. This, I think, is a really nice image, wonderful composition, and really well spotted. Next, another really nice one. The colours in this going towards the right of the frame are fantastic. Again, I don't know if it's a lucky candid, if it's set up, it doesn't matter, it's fantastic anyway. I also can't figure out who the guy is in the street art. I'm sure it's probably somebody famous that I'm just not recognizing, but whatever. The only thing I would be tempted to do possibly is just crop at the right to get rid of the guy in the background. But then you don't want to lose that nice colorful graffiti on the wall. So alternatively, maybe just wait a minute or two, see if he disappears. It's not the end of the world that he's there. That's the only change that I would make, but another good image.
I agree.
The colors on this I love, and again, all of these are really well spotted from this photographer. It's that kind of mirror image again. The graffiti's facing forwards, the human subject in the foreground is facing towards the graffiti. I have no idea what the chair is doing there, and I can't decide if I like it or not. Finally, I decided it's not bothering me. It's not really hindering the shot at all. But mostly what I love about this are the colors and the green. I was playing around with it a little bit. Sorry, Emilio, go back a second. That's it. I was playing around with it a little bit and thinking, would I crop so it's just the graffiti and the door? And I decided, no, I wouldn't, because what's on either side of it, the Instagram logo, the hanged man, the graffiti on the right, I think all adds to it. So great. Okay. And again, yeah, it's not, it's probably my least favorite of the set, just because it really is just the graffiti without anything interesting going on in the foreground. But it's still a nice piece of graffiti. It's nice colors. There's a slight angle on it. You can see a bit of the window, which stops it just being a photo of the graffiti artist's work. The photographer's brought something of his own to it as well. Okay. Thank you, Alan. Good set. Okay, this one I love. This is getting towards the just taking a photograph of the graffiti. Doesn't really matter. You can see some of the pavement in there. You do have some context for it. It's good that the photographer took the step back or widened the frame a little bit to get that little bit of the pavement. Otherwise, it would just be straight on the graffiti artist's work. It's exposed beautifully. The saturation is perfect. Technically, in terms of capturing the colors, really nicely done. And I like it. I think it's a fun piece of street art. Likewise, this one, again, well done to get the pavement and a bit of the road in to give it that context, to set it give it some kind of setting. I like the colors in this, especially the blue at the top. And I can't figure out if that's part of the graffiti or if that's light coming in from above or what it is, but it's a beautiful color. Very typical piece of graffiti as well, just the tagline. The colors in it are great. The guy at the end smoking the cigarette. It's a wonderful piece of street art, really well spotted. A lot of the graffiti in all of these images is really good. People have really found, I think, the best of the street art that they could to photograph, like that one. And again, same thing, wonderful colors, lovely piece of street art, a bit of context because you can see the road. Are all of these taken in the same place? Is it like a street art urban gallery like you get in London or Berlin or somewhere like that, or were they taken in different places? If the photographer is even here.
Or is mute?
Oh, it's on mute, yeah, of course.
You can always unmute yourself by holding on the space key. Yeah.
Yeah, if anybody wants to chime in and comment on their photos or add anything, you're not interrupting me. I don't mind at all.
Yeah.
All of these, if they were taken in the same place, fantastic. If you can find anywhere like this, there are places in London, places in Berlin, where it's just a road of street art and you can have so much fun trying different techniques in camera, different angles. You can just go wild. That's what it seems like to me. It seems like that kind of place. I love that piece of street art. That's right up my street, no pun intended. Colors are wonderful. Again, beautifully exposed, beautifully saturated. Nicely seen. And this one I'm guessing is not in the same place, although I'm not sure. You have to take a minute to look at it because at first it does look like half graffiti, half real shop, but it's not, it's 100% graffiti. I love it. There's not really much new I can say about it that I haven't said about the others. It's got the context, it's well set up, it's well spotted. It's a lovely piece of street art with fantastic detail. How anybody can do this on a brick wall, I don't know. I wouldn't know where to start. But everything, the graffiti artist has got the light reflecting on the window and everything, the hats. It's a really nice piece of street art. Probably my favorite of the set, actually, just because it's a bit different. It's something that you don't see every day when you look at graffiti. This one, wonderful composition. Not sure where it is, but it looks kind of familiar. Where is it, Andy?
I don't think Andy's here in the meeting.
Okay.
Today.
It looks, I can't quite place it, but I kind of feel like I've seen it somewhere. It's a nice title slide. If I were going to use it as an image, I'd crop up a little bit from the bottom just to get rid of the highlights at the bottom and the little green bit of paint or grass or whatever it is. But it's a great composition with the line leading into the street art in the background. So well done.
Thank you.
Okay, I like these. The only thing I would change about this one, and I'll say it from the beginning, is I would have somehow cloned out or burnt out that patch of light on the bottom underneath the graffiti. For me, that's where my eye is going, first of all. But if you take that out and look at what's left, it's a nice image. There are a few like this with patches of light either side of the graffiti. I think it works really well. I'll talk a bit more about it later on. This one's nice, crazy cats. So yeah, I would just change that patch of light and that's it. Sorry, Amelia, you can keep going. This is gorgeous. In terms of the graffiti artist's work, this is one of my favorites. The colors, the picture, the whole image is absolutely beautiful. I would love to see that for myself. And the photographer's done a really good job of capturing it. The angle is nice, the diagonal lines leading in. I don't know whether the sky has been filtered or blurred or whether it was really like that, but I like it, or whether it's even part of the wall. But whatever it is, it works really well as a background. Everything about this I like. The light on it, the composition, the blurred element of it, and the graffiti itself. Really nice. And this one again. Again, it's a straight on photograph of the graffiti, but again, it's got some context with the pavement in the front, in the foreground, which stops it being just a replica of the graffiti artist's work. Again, it's, I'm just going to say this over and over again, a really nice piece of street art and really well found. The detail in it is great. The colors in it are great. I like the way that the tree is central and that the photographer has put it central rather than putting it to one side. They say in order to break the rules, you have to know the rules. Obviously, it breaks the rules of thirds, but it works really nicely just in terms of a symmetrical centered image. Okay, the first black and white one. Not many black and white ones apart from mine, obviously. I like graffiti in black and white. I think it works really well, and it works really well here. The animals in the foreground are donkeys, as far as I can tell. It's a bit sad that they're in front of something saying RIP, but what can you do? It's an image that forces you to ask questions like, where is it? What are the donkeys doing there? Is it somewhere in the wild? Is it part of somebody's farm? Graffiti RIP, which is ironic because it is graffiti. The more you look at it, the more questions you can ask about it. The only thing I would change in terms of the monochrome is to lift the contrast a little bit. You can get away with going very high contrast with graffiti. It can take it. So I'd go for very strong blacks, very strong whites, up the contrast, give it more impact, and it will be, I think, an even stronger image.
This Angel.
And Angel, well done. And I've got a feeling I've seen this on Oaxaca Playa, yeah?
Yes, that's
There's one of the
Oaxaca too.
buildings there. Yeah, I remember them well. I really like this image on the title side. I think it's a really strong one. I would have put it into the set. The exposure is perfect. The shadows, the contrast, it's really nice. Well done, Angel.
Thank you.
Yeah, COVID. Beautiful colors. Love the message. COVID crossed out, if only. Similar kind of treatment with the angles leaning in, which I really like. I would have cropped off the shadow on the left. Looks like a shadow of a tree. Crop that off a little bit and it's a stronger image. It took me a while looking at them to figure out what was shadow and what was actually part of the graffiti. And I think the only shadow really in reality is that one on the left. Crop that out, you're just left with the beautiful colors, with the what looks like shadows of people, but it's actually part of the artwork. And the shadow being cast across to where the figure ends or starts across the pavement. It's really nice and well spotted and so appropriate for at the moment. Okay, and this is really pretty as well. Great example of putting it into context. It would have been very tempting with those colors and with those lines to go close into the graffiti and just take a photo of that. Then it would have just been the graffiti artist's work. Instead, what this photographer's done is use all the surroundings to create the image. So you've got the diagonal lines, the road going up, with the graffiti, a real pop of color, more or less in the center of the picture, and it works really nicely. I wouldn't crop anything, I wouldn't change anything. I like it how it is. And again, a nice one. Another beautiful piece of street art. You're going to be sick of me saying that. Which again contrasts nicely with the sky. And again, I'm not sure if the sky's been filtered a little bit or if it really was like that. I get the impression it really was like that. It's a nice muted background which matches the colours in the street art, so well spotted, with a little pop of orange roof in the background as well. And the context with the lamppost, it's not urban this time, it's more of a rural setting. It's interesting, it's nice, nicely composed, nicely exposed, nicely done. Right, this is the first example of having to hunt for the graffiti. Took me a minute to find it, but if you zoom in, you'll see it on the right-hand side of the column, and it says Vox. I like it a lot, and I especially like how dramatic and almost apocalyptic the sky is in the background, given the subject of the graffiti. I think it matches quite well. There's something like doomy and end of the worldy about it, which I really like. It's a pity that the top of whatever it is, the tower, is cropped off, possibly unavoidable. I don't know how high that thing goes up.
Very high.
Yeah, that's what I was assuming. It's kind of a shame that it was too high to get it all in, because I feel if you had like black metal piercing the sky along with that fiery sky and the box, it would be even more dramatic and apocalyptic. Some things are beyond our control, like the height of towers, but it works nicely anyway.
I tried that, but Vox then would be indistinguishable. It'd be too small.
Yeah, exactly, and you need to be able to see it.
What worries me.
I liked it. I thought interesting image, and especially with the sky. And I like the images in this challenge where you do have to hunt a bit for the graffiti. We'll see a few more of them as we go through. But yeah, well done. I like it.
Yes.
Ashton, obviously, and a nice street photo to finish with. I like that. Molato FC. Oh, here we go. Yeah, keep going. Another great street one. This time, the graffiti actually being painted. A few of these as well. Really good if you can get a shot of somebody actually doing the graffiti. It's not that easy to capture, and I speak from experience. They've usually got their hand in the wrong place, or they turn strangely, or they're blocking something, so it's nice when you can get it. Almost worth waiting a little bit to see if the figure in the background moves. My advice generally with moving away from graffiti with street photography and this kind of thing, take the image like you have, so you've got the image. And then hang around for a little bit and just see if you can improve on it. See if the background changes, see if the figures disappear. If they don't, doesn't matter, you've got the image anyway. But quite often, 2 or 3 minutes later, the whole scene has changed, and it can sometimes be an improvement. So just that one figure in the background, I find distracting. The guy in the foreground, beautifully captured, and a nice scene. Possibly burn in or burn out a little bit from the top right-hand corner, just to darken it a little bit and put more focus on the guy. But a nice street photo, well done. The colours in this one are lovely. The composition is lovely. The character in the middle of it, I really like. Exactly the right moment. Click the shutter, exactly right. And a really good example of street photography. I like the images that do have the human element in them. It's quite, I'll talk about it more when I get to mine actually, but just trying to kind of juxtapose the human with the street art and what the two things say about each other, I find really interesting. This is a nice example. The colours on his scarf, the colours on his clothes mirror the colours that are in that graffiti on the wall. So that works really nicely. As a composition, it works really nicely. And like I said, exactly the right moment captured. So well done, really good one. And this one I absolutely love. It's probably my favorite in the whole challenge. It's beautiful. I've come back to it several times over the last few days, mostly trying to figure out where it is. It looks like Middle Earth. And I can't figure, at first I thought, is that castle in the background part of the graffiti? But no, it's definitely a real place, but where is it?
I think it's the Mont Saint-Michel in Normandy in France.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I was thinking. Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of that it could be. It looks like it. But it looks so ethereal and otherworldly, and it's almost like two photographs for the price of one. The mountain in the background would be a good enough image, and the piece of graffiti, which looks almost like a Banksy, would be good on its own. Put the two together and it's elevated to something really special. The photographer, I guess, has got down on his knees or crouched down a bit to get that angle, which works perfectly. It breaks every rule of the rule of thirds, and I love it because of it. You've got the line straight down the middle, dividing it, and then the horizontal line as well, dividing it down the middle, but with a little bit of interest in the top right quarter with the mountain, and the interest in the left side as well with the graffiti. It's stunningly captured. It's a beautiful image. It's probably my favorite. I love it. I would like to see that printed. I think that would be even stronger as a physical printed framed image. Okay, here's somebody we recognize. At first I thought she was really holding something, but it's not, it's the graffiti. No problem at all with doing that, with having some fun with street art. Set it up, get somebody to play around with it, get somebody to feed the squirrel. It's humorous, gives it a fun element. It's a nice piece of graffiti as well. Well done, Dave, really nice. Okay, this one I like as well. When you first look at it, it looks like it's just the graffiti. It's not, it's actually a couple of, I think, separate places. The house in the foreground with the cat arched over the window, which is lovely. And then something else in the background as well, which at first I thought was more graffiti, but I'm looking at it now zoomed in, and I think it actually is an animal.
I think it's a dog.
It's a dog, isn't it? Yeah. I thought it was graffiti on a wall behind the house, but no, it's actually an animal on the road.
Yep.
Which is even better than if it was graffiti, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Nicely captured, a lucky moment. And again, the shutter pressed at exactly the right time.
Yes,
And
it's
again,
a
I think
dog.
I'm looking at it. Sorry?
It is a dog there, and it's in Valparaiso in Chile.
Right, okay, Chilean graffiti.
Yes.
I would love to know where, maybe when Emilio puts these on Facebook, people could say where they were taken in the world, because I think it's kind of global, and I would love to know where they're all from. So this one's from Chile. It's lovely. And now I know that it's the dog, I like it even more. The dog is almost becoming more of a focal point than the graffiti, which I like. Yeah, really nice. Classic example again of having to hunt for the graffiti. It's right there in the background, but you don't notice it at first because the first thing you notice is the laundry. I like these images where you have to look for it. I like this one. Again, the colors in the foreground with the laundry mirror the colors of the street art with the greens and the blues. Very interesting treatment of graffiti. You definitely couldn't say that this was just the graffiti artist's work. It's definitely the photographer's work, and it's nicely captured. It's a very long, thin image, but I think it needs to stay like that, because if you did crop off the top, you're losing some of the context of the scene, and it will just be somebody's washing with a street art picture underneath. I think you need to keep the top in it, which means making it a long, thin image. Doesn't matter, it's fine. Okay, this one, let me zoom out, I'm too zoomed in. Obviously close up on the graffiti, but in this instance, only on, I guess, part of the graffiti. So you still can't say that's just the graffiti artist's work. The photographer's brought something by just focusing on the part of it that interested her the most. And a good choice of where to focus on. I'm not sure exactly what the blue thing is between the teeth, what it's supposed to be. I just like the colors.
I don't remember.
Sorry, go.
Sorry, I don't remember either what the continuation was, because I took this part as a detail of the a big graffiti.
It's an interesting detail to focus on. I quite like it being left up to the imagination as well. What is the blue thing? Is it part of a gag? Is it somebody who's a prisoner? Is it, I don't know. And again, focusing on the detail again. This seems to be painted on corrugated metal from the texture of it. It's a lovely texture, lovely colors. This time I would crop the top a little bit, because you're not going to lose anything if you do. And it will give it more of a classic photograph shape rather than the elongated, long and thin shape. But again, well spotted and well focused on the detail and lovely colors.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. Okay, nice one. I'm guessing the graffiti actually is monochrome here, and not that it's anything the photographer's done with selective color. You can tell if you look at the chin, there's a little bit of color there, which makes me think that really is the color of the street art. But the photographer's been very clever in just getting the green at the bottom and the blue at the side. I like it. It's kind of the thing that could give you nightmares, this huge dismembered head popping up out of a hedge. But I like it. It's cool, well spotted, and nice treatment with the colors and the things surrounding it. Oh, I love this. It's a snail. If you look at the little pale spot that immediately your eye is drawn to, if Emilio zooms in, you'll see it. There we go. In pin sharp focus as well. So what I like about this image is the focal point, the subject, is the snail. The graffiti just forms the background. And that works really nicely. The colors are great. The idea of using graffiti as the background rather than the subject, I think, is really interesting. And really nicely done, nicely composed, technically perfect. Love it. And again, another black and white one. More contrast in this one, so you can see how well graffiti can take that strong contrast. Really works nicely. Not sure where it is. There's barbed wire on top of the wall. It almost looks like the Berlin Wall, but I'm guessing it's not. It's a very strong image, very nicely done in monochrome. The clouds behind the barbed wire almost look like a continuation of the head. So well spotted with that. And again, exactly the right moment captured. Nicely done. And it's the snail again, but you can't see him quite so well this time. I've got to say, I would be tempted to take the snail off the wall and reposition it on the pink bit. I'm sure he wouldn't mind. It's good, but it doesn't work as well as the first one, where your eye is immediately drawn to the snail. Well done, Emilio. And the barbed wire again. I love this title slide. Still with the snail.
Yes, again.
Yeah. Yeah, he's cool. He wouldn't have minded if you'd moved him. He'd have modeled for you. Okay, street photography again, nice one. And again, an example of the graffiti being used as the background rather than the subject. It works nicely. Nice monochrome, nice street shots. I would have waited a couple of seconds so that the figure was against a lighter background and try to get in very quickly, either one side or other of the lamppost. But that's really nitpicking, it doesn't really matter.
Hey, please, Rosemary, can you mute your microphone?
Nice with the zebra crossing as well. It's a good street shot. Okay, another one that works really beautifully in monochrome with that contrast. And again, another one that breaks the rule of thirds and does it really successfully with the doorway bang in the middle. The graffiti to the right of it balances a little bit and stops it being too symmetrical. And then of course the Guardia Civil on the left. Really nicely handled. The exposure is great. The composition is lovely and a good decision to put it into monochrome. I think it works really well. And another one that could have been for the symmetry, asymmetry challenge, almost. Really nice composition again. And well done to get the window on the right, rather than just being tempted to focus on that one window with the graffiti. It gives it the context, it gives it that bit of asymmetry, it makes it more interesting, and it's a stronger image for including that second window. The graffiti itself is interesting. Black and white graffiti. I'm sure it means something. I'm not sure what it is, but it's a nice piece of street art and nicely composed. The colors in that are lovely in the wall. That's the kind of thing that if you put it into black and white, it would look a bit flat. So not this one, sorry, the pre-black one, yeah. If you put that into monochrome, the graffiti would be fine, but the rust colors on the wall would probably look a bit grayed out and not so interesting. So a good decision to keep it in color there, I think. Okay, sorry, Emilio, next.
No problem.
It's okay. And yeah, I've got to be honest, not one of my favorites, not because there's anything wrong with it, but just because it's not quite as interesting as the others. It's fine. It's nicely composed. The composition's great. The exposure's fine. But there was nothing really in it that grabbed me and made me want to really explore it and keep looking at it. So yeah, it does its job. Well done, Frank. Title slide, really nice again with the colors on that and the angle on that. Nice. Okay. Graffiti straight on. So this is where we need to have like kind of the conversation. Is this the photographer's work or is this the graffiti artist's work? It's a little bit too much just the graffiti artist's work. You could take a step back to include more of the foreground, to give it some context so we can see where it is. Alternatively, you could kneel or crouch down and photograph up at it, so you've got the imposing face looking down at you. You could take a step, I think, to the right and get it angled in, like some of the others that we've seen. So it just needs a little bit of the photographer's twist on it, I think, to really make it work. It's a nice piece of street art and well spotted, but just needs a little bit of a tweak to make it yours. And likewise with this one, again, really great piece of street art, really nice, just needs a little tweak. You've got some lovely shadows falling over it. So it'd be quite interesting to try to include in the frame whatever it is that's casting those shadows, whether it's part of a fence or a grating or what it is, whether it's just light through a roof. You could include that. That would then lift it to a different level. Or again, the old advice, crouch down, give it an angle, focus in on a detail like we saw before, just something to give it that little twist of your own. And again, beautiful piece of street art, just needs that little twist just to make it yours. With this one, I think I'd be tempted to focus on one of the details, zoom right in, maybe just get part of the face, whatever. Without really knowing where it is and what's surrounding it, I'm not sure. But yeah, always take a moment to have a look when you're photographing graffiti. What's either side of it? What's above it? Can you get any interesting angles? Is it the kind of thing where if you wait for a few minutes, somebody will walk past or go past on a bicycle, which would add something to it? So just take into consideration all of the scene. But it's a nice piece of street art. And this one, probably my favorite of them. I really like that. It looks almost like an old chipped photograph. It's hard to believe that's actually painted. That's wonderful, wonderful work. It has a little more context than the others just because it seems to be painted on this like old crumbling, peeling wall, which gives it that vintage kind of cracked photograph look to it. And the writing above, whether that's a tag or somebody's name, I'm not sure, but all of it gives it a bit more context than the others. So that one's my favorite. I like that one. Well done, Goram. Right, okay, we're going to see some examples of graffiti almost not as the subject here. I kind of feel like I know this place. It's one of these ruined buildings, and there are a few of them around Mahaka and around Vera, going towards San Juan and those kind of places you can find them.
Rachel, these
Yeah.
are at Marrow, near an old sugar factory very close to Nerha.
Oh, right, so going the other way.
Yeah, it's a place called Marrow. It's a late 1800s deserted sugar factory.
Well, it's a great place to photograph. Nicely found. I'd like to go there. Right, that makes sense then with the other ones that are coming up, because it's obviously quite a big place. So this one's near Nerja. There are lots of buildings like this along that part of the Costa though. So they're not difficult to find, and they usually have great graffiti in them. They'd be quite good for the pollution challenge as well, because they're usually filled with rubbish. Just the lighting, you could use it really for any subject. It could be abandoned, it could be ruined buildings, it could be graffiti, whatever. This one's really interesting. So the light on the doorway with the graffiti, as we go through this set, you'll see more how the light works with the graffiti not being the subject. So if Amelia keeps going, there you go. So now we're getting less into the graffiti being the first thing you notice. The first thing you notice is the door and the light. The graffiti is secondary. You have to look for it a bit, which I like. It's definitely adding a personal twist to it. It's not just a photograph of graffiti. It's a photograph of a ruined building, which happens to have graffiti, which I think works really nicely. And it just gets stronger. There again. The graffiti is more of a focal point in this one, obviously, because your eye is drawn to it as you look through the door. But again, you're looking at this ruined building that just happens to be painted. And the colours there are lovely. And that's my favourite of the set. I think that one is absolutely wonderful. Your eye is immediately drawn right through those arches to the little bit of the sea in the background. When you look at it, you're aware of the graffiti, but only kind of in one part of your brain because you're so busy looking at the sea. It's only when you pull your eye back through those arches and look at the right-hand side of the photo that you notice this really lovely butterfly that's painted there. Take the butterfly away from it, it will be a less interesting image. Even though the graffiti is not the focal point, it really adds something to it. And that made me think, a lot of photos that you see of old buildings and abandoned buildings, it's just walls. And even though you can have fun photographing arches and light and things that you can see through the doorways, in the foreground, it's just bare wall. Having that bit of graffiti makes it a lot more interesting. The colours work nicely as well. The graffiti's kind of red. You've got the blue of the sea at the back, the green of the grass. Beautifully lit, beautiful composition, really well handled. One of my favourites in the challenge. Well done, Harry. Is that the sugar factory then from the outside?
Hang on, had to unmute myself. Yes,
It's
that is,
okay.
that's looking in. In fact, the tower has got graffiti on it as well. Those lines make what you can't really see unless you zoom right in is that bluey splotch at the bottom is actually fingers of a hand pointing up the chimney.
Really?
Yeah. So it's
Okay.
almost every bit of work, every bit of wall, every bit of window, everything there has got graffiti on it. Some good, some bad.
Yeah. What a
There's-
fantastic place to photograph.
Yeah.
I'm quite
Thank-
sad I missed that.
All I can say is thank you, Jean. She knew it, I didn't.
Nice fine Jean, really good. I'd be tempted to go back there over and over again to take more photos of different things. What a great location. Okay. Urban graffiti shot. Again, the angles. It reminds me of Valencia and one of those places in Valencia that's covered in graffiti with just like half of a ruined building in the background. It's nicely handled. The angle in, the wall in the background is a lovely shade of orange. You could probably get away with putting it into black and white, but why would you bother? Because the colors are so nice. And yeah, again, just taking that step back and that step to the right and getting the angle and a bit of the surroundings stops it being just a photo of somebody else's work. Okay, this one I like. No idea if it's a candid shot or whether it's a friend that was positioned there to look at the monkey guy. It works. This one I would be tempted to put into black and white, just because the human figure, I find his clothes a bit distracting. It doesn't quite work with the graphic red, black and white of the graffiti. I'd be tempted to put the whole thing into black and white and have done with it. But it's nicely set up, it's nicely composed, nice idea to have the man looking at the graffiti. All of that works really well. I would just monochrome it. And the colors on this, I think, are beautiful. You could possibly tone down the green a little bit. There's maybe a few too many highlights, a bit bright, but again, that's nitpicking. It's not really distracting. The focus is still on the figure in the graffiti. Beautiful shade of kind of crimson pink, which works really nicely with the bush in front of it, with the green. And the inclusion of that green, of the bush, again, stops it being just a straight on photograph of somebody else's work. It gives it that bit of context, gives it a bit of contrast. Nicely done, nicely seen. I'm so pleased that somebody put one of these in. I was almost going to put one of mine in with the same word, and then I wasn't sure if people would get offended, so I didn't. So hooray. I'm not offended at all. Sorry if anybody is. A message which I think is echoed in several countries at the moment. So almost kind of a political piece of graffiti here. This one I would crop, and I would crop from the left. So that little patch of light on the left was gone. So if Emilio zooms in a little bit.
This is not possible.
So
No, because I can't crop the left play.
okay, you can get the idea anyway. Just yeah, taking the brown wall and the patch of light off the left, so it's just the white wall. We'll put more focus onto the graffiti, stop any distractions. Yeah, I like it. I'm not commenting on whether I agree with the message, but I like it as a piece of urban art. Well done, Imola. Right, graffiti artists at work again. I always like these when we can see people actually painting the graffiti. Nicely handled. Again, you've got the lead in line. You could get away with cropping a little bit from the left, just so you, or getting a little bit closer, even taking a couple of steps closer to the people painting. It's not essential. It doesn't spoil the photo that you are far away from them, but it could be a little bit stronger if you took a couple of steps closer. But again, yeah, the colors are lovely. You've got that mirroring again of the colors in the graffiti and the colors in the guy's t-shirts, which always works, and always good to capture somebody in the process of creating it. Okay, I love this piece of art. I think it's beautiful. Here, I think I would crop out the woman. This is what I was talking about earlier when I said it can be difficult to get somebody actually doing the graffiti, because often they pause, their hands in the wrong place, their posture's wrong. She's not quite right. I think you either need to wait until she's working on the mural or get rid of her altogether. If you crop her out, you've still got some context of the shot because you've got the paint on the ground in front of it. You can see that it's in the process of being created. So it's not just the graffiti artist's work, there's something of yours as well. But she's a little bit distracting because she's not really doing very much. So get rid of her, and great image. There's an example of it. So no human in this one, but just a work in the process of being created with the paints on the ground in front of it. And that one works really nicely. Again, lovely colors, lovely power. It reminds me of this place. Oh, hang on a second. I've just lost my screen share. Okay, that's interesting. I've just clicked on something and I've gone to gallery view. So now I can't see Emilio's screen. How do I get that back, Rod?
What's happened to you?
I've clicked onto the gallery view. So now I can't see the screen share. I can just see everybody's faces. What do I do?
Just stop sharing the screen.
You stopped sharing the screen?
No, go to the top of the thumbnails. There is an option to see full members, the list, or just the speaker.
View is top right hand corner. The thing called view.
I don't have it on the phone.
No.
Yeah. Sorry, technical problems. Bear with me a second.
Yeah, no problem. I went.
See if I can't get that back. Emilio, any chance you could stop sharing and then share again?
Yeah, I think that's the best option.
Yeah, sorry.
Except Emilio disappeared, I think, to go and do something.
Either that or Rachel, you could always disconnect and reconnect in.
Wouldn't that be more time consuming though?
Yeah, Emilio's vanished.
Emilio, I think, has just gone to get his phone to see if he can help on the by.
Oh, hang on. It's okay. No, I've got it back. I've clicked on whatever I needed to click on. Okay, drama over. I'm back on the parrot. Sorry about that. I'm not used to using Zoom on the phone. So a couple of teething problems.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I fixed it. Sorry, Emilio.
No problem.
Okay, and that was Janet. Right, this is a nice image. I like this a lot. Again, you've got the colors in the foreground, mimicking the colors in the street art. Really nicely spotted. Sorry, I'm just setting my screen up. And that nice bit of context. Yeah, it's great. It's lovely. I love the pop of red in what he's wearing, the guy in the mural. I especially love the green table in the foreground. I'm guessing possibly the restaurant has chosen that color on purpose to match the mural in the background. but whatever, it works really nicely. Could possibly crop off the top a little bit, but only if you felt like it. Doesn't really matter if you don't. Yeah, that's maybe a bit stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a nice image anyway. And one of these again with the view through. Is this the sugar factory then? I'm guessing. But another example of, like we saw with Harry's.
I was
where
just going to say, yeah, Rachel, yes, it is. I don't know whether Jean cannot unmute, but yes, it is the sugar factory. And what you see through the door is a great big washing bowl. It's like a 5 square, I can't describe it, like an indoor football pitch.
Right, okay. Again, a really interesting location. I like it. And it's got some fantastic graffiti on it. I love the cat. And again, I like this graffiti almost as the backdrop rather than the focal point of the picture. I like it. It's nicely done. I like the way as well that you've managed to get the horizon exactly in the middle of that doorway. Again, breaking the rule of thirds with that little part of the photo. And again, it works really well. Just dividing it exactly into. Nice composition. Spanish colors. This just makes me think of Spain. This is one of the ones I was looking at for ages, trying to figure out, is that a shadow or is that part of the graffiti? And I still can't decide.
I think it's a shadow.
I think it's a shadow.
Shadow from that the screen at the top.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. The net is the shadow, and
yeah,
the guy jumping up is the graffiti. And the reason I did that, because it looks as if the guy jumping is jumping for some ball in the shadow.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why it works. Right. So it is a shadow. It's such a perfect, sharp shadow, which is why I couldn't figure out whether it was all graffiti or whether it was graffiti with a shadow cast on it. Works really nicely and well spotted. And yeah, you're quite right with the guy jumping. Looks like he's jumping to catch something in the shadow. Exactly the right time of day. Was that luck, or was that repeated trips back to the same place until the shadow was in the right place?
Actually, it's out in Almeria. And
yeah.
About the third time I'd walked up that road towards the castle, because I love that graffiti so much. And eventually I decided I got the right time of day with the sun beating down to give me that lovely shadow there. Yeah.
Definitely the right time of day. Yeah. Yeah, really nicely done. I like it. And this one as well, I love that little splash of pink in the bottom. It's nicely composed. And I've noticed these before with jeans. Quite often you have to really look closely at the photograph to figure out what's background, what's foreground, what's subject. I really like it. This is another one where I was thinking, is this a wall with a door behind it, or is the door adjacent, or is it all just painted? I love having to look a little bit closer to figure out what's what. And it's quite a character of a lot of jeans photographs.
Deserted building in Berlin, a deserted hospital, and that's a wall in front of another wall.
Right, that's what I was thinking. It's hard to figure it out because of where her hair ends, and is that a continuation of the hair on the wall behind, or is it all part of the same thing? I like it. I like that kind of confusion that comes into it. Where does one part stop and the other part begin? So some Berlin graffiti. One of the best cities in the world, I think, for graffiti is Berlin. If you want to photograph graffiti, you can't really go wrong with Berlin. I love this title slide as well. That's great. The car crashing out of the wall. Really nice.
That's the Berlin Wall.
Right. Okay.
Is that the date? That's the date that it fell. Huh?
It
No, November 89.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. Ah,
Yeah.
now it makes sense. I hadn't made that connection or noticed that, not knowing it was Berlin. A big part of the wall is still standing and has been turned into a street art gallery, which is great to see. That's a nice piece of graffiti. That's an interesting, the graffiti artist style there is interesting. There's not a great deal to say about it in terms of critique. It's nicely handled, it's composed nicely, it's a nice piece of graffiti. Yeah, I wouldn't change anything. I don't think you need to crop anything. I think you've got it framed as it should be. Reminds me of Valencia again. Okay. This one again is just really a close-up of the graffiti artist's work without the photographer really bringing anything of his or her own to it. Again, it's a nice piece of graffiti. What you could do to give it your own little twist is come in onto the detail, especially the eyes, with the detail on the bridge of the nose and under the eyebrows could be good. Or take a step back, try to include a bit more, change the angle, just do something. And the same with this one. I can't work out what it is in the top right-hand corner. Is it part of a beam or part of a bar? It seems to be something real in the foreground. Whatever it's connected to, that black thing in the top right, if it's something interesting that you could use to put the street art into some more of a context, step back and get it in. Or possibly kneel down and shoot up at that, so that's over your head. Just something to give it that little twist again, that angle. It's a great piece of graffiti. It's super interesting and really nice. Right, here it is with the context. That works better because now we can see both of them in their real setting. This time I would crop just a little bit off the top, not so much that you can't see where it is, but just into it a little bit. So you're focusing on the angle of that wall and the dual graffiti either side of it. That's it, like Emilio's done now. Works really nicely. It's one that could probably handle being put into black and white, but the colors are nice anyway, so it would be take your pick. But yeah, works better seeing it in context than just going full on to them. Well done, Leslie. Absolutely beautiful piece of graffiti. And again, it just staggers me how people can do this on a brick wall. I can't draw a stick man on paper, let alone do anything like this. The colors are absolutely wonderful. And if you look at the right, bottom right, there's a real chicken, a real cockerel. Takes a moment to notice it. It's a fantastic shot. No idea.
It's not real.
Is it not real?
I think not.
No, that's definitely part of the graffiti.
I think
God, I need to change my glasses. I could have sworn that was a real cockerel.
it's because the legs and the shadows, I don't know. What do you think?
I'm just seeing it now. I could have sworn that was real. Need to go to Specsavers.
Is the author here?
Yeah, is the author here?
I don't know.
No, she's not, I'm afraid.
Oh, so I'm looking at the cockerel now. Is it right? Okay, now I'm confused. Is it painted partly on the pavement? Or is the pavement itself part of the graffiti?
I think it's that perspective painting that you see so much
Yeah.
of these days. Yeah, I think it probably is painted, you know, but it's painted part on the pavement on. It's just to give you that effect. Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a Marlene pic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And I feel quite silly now for not realizing that wasn't real. I really thought it was. And I was thinking what a wonderfully captured moment because it was real. It's part of the painting. But still really nicely done, really interesting. And the colors there are wonderful. This one I absolutely love. Graffiti again in the process of being painted. The colors are beautiful. Seems to be at night or underground or in a dark place. But this screams to me everything that graffiti makes me think of, which is urban settings, underground, neon lights, hooded figure spraying it on the wall. I just love it on every level. And again, likewise, this one. This has done a really good job of getting graffiti in the process of being painted, and the lighting on it is wonderful. Really nice. And again, this time the artist is a little bit blurred. The focus is more on the graffiti, but it's there. I know she's not here. She's in France, I think. Whether she took these at night or whether it's just a dark location, I'm not sure, but she's done a really good job with capturing the colors in that low light. They really pop, and it just does look so neon lit and wonderful. That's it, Marlene. I was looking for her name there. Yeah, one of my favorite sets. It's a shame she's not here. Oh, okay, cats on walls again. Okay, yeah, it's one of these where there's not a lot to say beyond nicely composed and a bit of context and well spotted. I'd kind of be tempted to put it into black and white, but I'm not sure. That's nitpicking. It works nicely anyway, and nicely composed so you can see exactly where it is and what's going on. Okay. And again, it's nice that you've got the buildings in the background, that you've got the trees there, that you've got the kind of ruined pavements in the foreground, and then just straight on to the graffiti. I can't work out what it says, but it's nicely done. It's nicely captured. It's got the context. Cool. This is nice with the person in the foreground. I always like human interaction with graffiti, and this works well. Reminds me a little bit of the very first one we saw with the bicycle, with the human figure a little bit blurred because he's moving, but coming towards facing the graffiti in the background. Got some mirroring of colors there, the streak of red on the jogger's top, the red of the graffiti directly behind him, but most of the focus on the thing with the Mickey Mouse ears in the background. You could crop a little bit from the left just to get rid of that little bit of graffiti in the bottom left. Just get rid of that a bit, come in behind the tree. Would make it a little bit stronger. But yeah, nice image, nicely done. And again, it's nicely spotted. It's a nice piece of street art. I would be tempted almost to give this one the abstract treatment. So rather than taking all of the wall with all of the art on it, focus right in on the black branch with the green bit underneath, and just go right into that. So it becomes almost an abstract example of graffiti. That I think would be really interesting, if that makes sense. I don't know how much Emilio can do that.
No, not too much.
Not too
I
much.
can't crop the sides, just increase.
Yeah, you'd need to. The other thing you could do with this, unfortunately, I didn't think of it in time for when I put my own submission in. Something you can do with graffiti is intentional camera movement, and you can get some really, really good effects. I didn't think of it, so I didn't put any in, but I will put some on Facebook later to give you an idea of what you can do with intentional camera movement by zooming out as you press the shutter. You can get some really cool, colorful, abstract effects. And I think this one would take it really well. So I'll post that on Facebook later. And that's me, Joe. And I love that title slide. When I first saw it, I thought she actually had gone to a wall and stenciled her own name on it, but no, it just looks that way. Okay, these are coming from Pedro. Graffiti with a camera. I like it. Everybody should paint photographers as street art. Human subject again. It's only the title slide. It's not one of his submissions. I'd try to wait a little bit and see if the girl turns a bit so you've got some of her face in it looking directly at the mural. But it works perfectly well as a title slide. Okay. And a nice one. Again, nice colors. Again, I would crop a little bit from the left. There's some lighter things there. I think it's a signage on the doorway, which is a bit distracting. Get rid of that. You can still keep that flash of red down the side, but you just get rid of those distracting posters. It's a nice street shot. The graffiti's lovely. The texture on the wall is lovely. And you've got the context, you've got the human interaction, and you've got some a nice lead into it. It looks like it's taken from quite a low angle, which works nicely. And beautiful colors. Another one where I think it could be improved if you zoomed in on the detail, because there's not a lot going on in the foreground. It's really just a grassy slope, but there's plenty going on in the mural. Again, you don't want to just take a straight on photo of somebody else's work. So look for detail. And it's another one that could be given the abstract treatment, especially if you went in, not on the figure playing the harp, but to the right of him where the bird is. And around that kind of area of the picture, going really close into that could give it could look a bit more abstract. And like I said, I'll put some examples of what you can do with camera movement on Facebook as well. But a nice piece of street art again, nice colors. And this one I think is beautifully painted. It's wonderful. Seems to be the same place, the same grassy slope. Yeah. Again, so you could do similar things with it. You could focus in on the detail, but yet the whole thing is so beautiful. Possibly one of these ones where if you take a step to the left or a step to the right, so you've got the diagonal angle on it, would give it a bit more of a dramatic impact rather than just taking it straight on. But it's a beautiful piece of art. Nicely spotted. I want to know where this place is as well.
It's the same place I used for mine. It's outside of Garrucha, going to Los Gallardos. It's a gas. Are the walls of a gas store, the wood store.
Is it the place
Outside
near the go-karting place?
No. It's,
I can't think where you mean.
You know,
yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah, the roads as you go towards Los Gallardos, passing Mahaca Pueblo on the left. There's like a go-karting place, and opposite that is a building with graffiti. Is it there?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I know where you mean.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember that one though. They've obviously improved it since I was last there. Yeah, that's beautiful.
At the same place.
And this is the same place as well?
Yes.
Yeah, that's really nice. I like that. The colours in that are wonderful. The little bit of the angle on it gives that one a bit more impact as well.
Sí.
Okay, yep, you can keep going. Oh yeah, these are mine. I put these in and I've decided since that I don't like any of them. So I'll just give you a few comments on them and do feel free to criticize. This one, I think I just need to post-process it again because I'm too white. There's no detail on me. It was originally color. I think I should have kept it in color. So back to the drawing board with that one.
I disagree.
Feel free, Trevor. You can critique that one. I don't mind. Yeah, it's actually here in Costa Rica. Not really sure what I was trying to do apart from thinking maybe I can get some eye contact I think originally it was for the self-portrait challenge. But whatever. I guess I'm pleased enough with the composition. I just think I need to stop myself looking so white and ghostly somehow.
Anyway, I like it. It's a good
Thank
portrait.
you.
I think the bleaching of the white adds to the mystery and intrigue of the image.
I'll take that. Okay. I liked it when I first edited it, but when I was looking at it in the context of everybody else's graffiti pictures, it just looked a bit strange.
Yes, very good. Very good.
These next two were taken at the Extinction Rebellion protests in London in 2019. But in my defense, they were taken hoping that one day we would have a graffiti challenge. So even though they're not new, they were taken with a graffiti challenge in mind. This one I was pleased with because it's just kind of apocalyptic. He just walked across, it's Waterloo Bridge. He just walked across the bridge at exactly the right moment, looking kind of strange. It was a bit of a misty kind of day anyway, so it made the whole London skyline look a bit surreal and otherworldly. I just kind of liked it.
Very good.
And that's Waterloo Bridge, completely devoid of any traffic because obviously they brought it all to a standstill. I've got a colour version of it as well, but I decided I preferred it in black and white because it looked a bit more doomy and apocalyptic in black and white. The graffiti obviously is on the road surface. And yeah, it just reminded me of something like from a zombie movie or something where all the roads are deserted and there's some woman wrapped in a shawl and a solitary little child. So I was kind of going for dystopian future with these.
Sorry.
And that's in Seville, which it's a skate park next to the river. If you ever get the chance to go there, again, there's loads that you can photograph there. There's the skate park itself, which usually has skaters. There's a bridge which is behind where I'm standing to take this photo, and the underneath of that's all covered in graffiti. There are interesting lines, angles, steps everywhere, beautiful colors, and a photographer taking that. So if you ever get the chance, it's near the bus station in Seville.
Very good.
Thank you.
Oh, good. Good pose.
That's the color, the first one that I was making the eye contact with. Those are the colors in it. So I'm thinking maybe I should have kept it in color.
You made a good graffiti with your name.
I've been practicing on walls, not really. Okay, this is a nice, cute piece of graffiti. It's not quite straight on somebody else's work because there is that little bit of the angle to it. I would have taken a step back and increased that angle even more to get a bit more foreground in it. And it would be really wonderful if you could somehow get children in the foreground. It seems to be graffiti for children. Put some human subject in. But yeah, nicely spotted, nice and colourful, and it's kind of a feel-good piece of graffiti. And the same with this one. It's a lovely piece of graffiti. You've got that little bit of the angle on the street. Take a step back, get a bit more of the street in, and the top of the circle behind his head. But yeah, it's nice colours. I like it. Just get a bit more of a sharper angle to it. Like that. So here it's taken from more of a distance. There's human in the foreground. Now you can see exactly where the graffiti is and what's going on around it. And it makes it a stronger image and more of your image rather than just something the graffiti artist has painted. And again, that's lovely, feel good graffiti. Need some children
Your
playing.
mother.
Is it? That's not my mother, that's a man. Is that seriously? Nah.
No.
No, that's not your wife.
Yes, it is.
Seriously?
Sure.
Yes.
Well, sorry, Mum.
Well, for me, what would be interesting on that last one,
Turn
it
her
would be
around.
very interesting. It would be very interesting to see this at night because there looks like a street light near the top, and if the image was dark and there was an arc of light coming down from that, illuminating part of the graffiti.
Yeah.
That could be a very interesting photograph as well. So this is somewhere you can easily go back to. There's another really good potential shot to look at when it gets dark.
That's a really good observation, Trevor. Is it Varna, Dad? No, he's gone. Telling my mother I thought she was a man. Is it in Varna?
No. Push the space bar, Rod.
What?
Rod, Prout.
Oh,
Press the space bar.
I can't remember where it was. It's somewhere in Spain.
Oh, right, so a bit difficult to go back to tonight then.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a really good observation by Trevor, though. That would be super interesting. It's got the colours to take a night shot. It would really light up nicely. Surely that's not my mother. Anyway, whatever. This is a really nice piece of graffiti, but falls victim to that just taking a photo of the graffiti thing. It's that, I'm guessing this is Bulgaria. It's that Russian doll kind of thing. I would take a step back for a couple of reasons. Partly so that you don't crop off that little bit on the left, which has been cropped off, and partly to get the context again. It's a nice piece of graffiti. It needs your own personal twist on it, so it's not just somebody else's work, but it's well spotted. It seems, this one, I think that's lovely. That's obviously not Bulgaria. That's a beautiful piece of street art. It's taken, I mean, it's the title slide, so I'm not going to critique it. But it is taken like straight on somebody else's work, but it's a lovely piece of graffiti. Seems to me that it's colourful enough that if you did take a step back and include the streets and the buildings around it, it would still be the thing to pop from the picture because of the colours. But really nice. One of my favorites, this is exactly the kind of street photography that I love. I love the angle looking down. The graffiti is kind of incidental. It's not the subject, it's just there. I don't even know what it means. The main focal point is the kind of shadowy figure. I would hazard a guess at Madrid Metro. I feel like I've seen pictures like this before from this photographer, but I'm not sure.
yeah.
Yep, it's one of those. Yeah, it's really nice. All of the photographs that you've taken of Madrid Metro like this, I really like, and this is no exception. Exactly the kind of street photography I like. Understated, low key, and the graffiti works well in the background. One of my favorites.
Yes, me too.
The expression on her face, I think, is beautiful. She looks so mistrustful of you. And again, lovely street photograph, works really well in black and white. The graffiti is really part of the background rather than the first thing that you focus on. And just her facial expression, she wants to kill you.
Yeah, no,
But
this
she's
is all part of the suffering of living in the city. Yeah.
yeah,
Which is what I was trying to convey.
definitely successfully. I mean, she doesn't look happy. And apart from the graffiti, she's surrounded by what, recycling bins, metal scaffolding. It doesn't look like a happy place, and you've captured it really well. Great street photo. Graffiti in black and white, again with that high contrast. And here, just the top of like the head and shoulders of an equally miserable looking woman, which works really well. I like the angle on it. I like the fact that the wall isn't quite vertical. It gives it a bit more impact for me. Here, I think the focus very much is on the graffiti because of the lighter areas and the contrast on it. But it is interesting then when you look into the picture a little bit further and see the miserable looking woman walking past it.
Yeah, no, it's an urban scene. Yeah, it's an urban scene and life in the city. Yeah, beaten
it
down.
does it perfectly.
Yeah, beaten down and yeah, unhappy.
Exactly. Oh yeah, I definitely get that feeling from it. Like the other one. It's another really good example of how graffiti can handle high contrast black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really nice. And again, it makes a nice set, all of these. Again, one of the ones where you have to hunt for the graffiti a little bit. It's not immediately obvious, but there it is at the bottom on the circular thing. And it's not street art. This time, it's just those scribbles that we've all seen 100 times around cities. Not beautiful, not pretty, just part of the urban landscape and captured really nicely. And again, same thing. Not beautiful, not art, not colourful, just part of the ugliness of living in a city. And working really well in black and white. Really nice set. I like those, Rod.
Thank you.
I love this one. I love the treatment that it's got from the photographer. Obviously being post-processed quite a lot, but to great effect, I think. A little bit blurred around the edges, the sky, that kind of like grey, dusky colour with the graffiti, the colours of the graffiti popping out. Another one of these ruined buildings that are so easy to find along the Costa Almeria. And beautifully composed, just wonderful, really like it. Another one that I think would look good printed in physical form. And again, we've got the doorways here. We've got somebody actually at work doing the graffiti, which I always like. Nicely captured. It works really well as a whole scene, but it works equally as well if you zoom in just to the doorway and the graffiti artist in the background. So you could do two things with it, as it is, or create a second photo by cropping off everything to the left and the right, and just keeping the frame as the door with the graffiti artist. Would also work in black and white, I think. One of the ones that could handle the black and white. But yeah, nice image. And again, beautiful colors, beautiful composition. All seems to be in the same place again, one of these ruined buildings, which is so wonderful to photograph. Something kind of disturbing about this one, but I quite like it. It's like it was taken in hell or something. A lot of this graffiti, and especially the street arts sort, is so creative and so well done. It's been a joy to look through them. And this one I absolutely love. I think it's wonderful. Obviously, it's been painted in such a way that the horizon does go through the center of the mural's face, but the photographer's done a really good job to capture it exactly in a straight line. That's the kind of thing I think I would have missed. I would have got the horizon on the mural a little bit too high or a little bit too low. This photographer's got it exactly right. The colors, the white balance, the exposure are perfect. It's a beautiful image. And again, I like the fact that it's just dead center and breaking that rule of thirds law. Yeah, really works. I'm all for breaking the rules at the moment, especially after seeing these. I like the fact that a lot of it has gone so symmetrical and so like perpendicular like this. It's really nice. Beautiful image. I wouldn't crop anything or change anything. And good to see Sarah back with a really nice title slide as well.
Sorry.
Okay. This one, it took me a while to decide whether I liked it or not because of the shaft of light over his face. And I decided, yes, I do like it, because without the shaft of light, it would just be a photo of somebody else's work. It's quite nice that it's got that angle, that lighter diagonal angle across the face of the subject. I don't know what time of day it was, but yeah, it adds something a little bit different to what's painted on the wall. And his facial expression is wonderful.
Yes, I hung around for about an hour afterwards for waiting for the sunlight to go off. And the image was nowhere near as good as it was with that shaft of light on. I took it, and comparing the two, I didn't like it.
Yeah, definitely with the shaft of light, it just gives it that added little twist, that added bit of interest. Without it, it would just be somebody else's mural. But yeah, that lifts it, elevates it. You could even increase the contrast and make it even stronger. It would take it. But yeah, good choice. This one I like as well. It's another one looking through windows to a focal point in the background. Gone off it again. And again, yeah, even though the windows and the looking through the windows stops it being just somebody else's work, it's your own twist on it again. I wouldn't crop anything out of that. I'm sure some people would think, oh, just crop in on the window frame. Personally, I wouldn't. I like all the stuff around the outside, the M and the Davids and everything else. I think it gives it some context. And I like it in color as well, because it's almost monochromatic despite being color. I like the red, the black, the white, and just the kind of muted yellow of the whole thing. It's a nice shot. And a similar thing here. Again, I would keep everything around the outside of it. I think it adds to it. And this lovely, like, well-lit area of green graffiti in the middle of it. It's another ruined building, but doesn't seem to be one of the ones on the coast. I'm guessing this one's actually in a town or something.
It's on the way into Tabernas.
Right, okay. And all of it in the same place or in different places?
All of it in one place.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have found some really good locations to take these graffiti pictures, and the possibilities are endless. You could probably get more than 4 photographs out of most of these places. So yeah, nicely found. I love the way that's lit up in the center. And again, the little, if you look, zoom close in, it's a little man with a speech bubble. I can't figure out what he's saying. I thought he was saying zip, but he's not. I would crop the top off that one a little bit. That's a little bit distracting, and just keep it to the white wall with the graffiti around the edge of the window, and then the focus on the little guy in the window with the speech bubble. But I like the way you've handled those with the looking through a window at more graffiti approach to it. Really good. And that's Trevor's, and there's the guy with the flash of light on him again. Nicely done. And this, I think, is the final set. This is absolutely beautiful. This is one of my favorite pieces of street art. The colors in it are lovely. And the sky just is behaving itself and doing exactly what you would want the sky to do. The cloud almost looks like hair. This is a good example of taking a step back to get some foreground into it, to give it some contrast, some context. So it's not just the graffiti artist's work, it's yours. This does it really well. The figure in the foreground is almost unnecessary. You could crop him out and have the picture finished by the door on the right. Then you'd have that symmetry again. So the eyes in the middle, the door each side, the cloud looking like the hair. But it's beautifully painted and beautifully captured. Can we go to the, yeah, there we go. This one I love with the reflection. I was actually surprised that we didn't see, or I think this is the only one in the entire challenge with the graffiti reflected. And one of the examples I think that Frank put on Facebook was graffiti reflected in water. I expected to see more of them. But this is the only one. It works really nicely. If you ever see graffiti near water, photograph that reflection. It really works. Sorry?
Yes. Yeah, no, yes, I posted twice. In,
it was you, yeah.
Thank
With
you.
it was a puddle, I think, with graffiti reflected in a puddle. Okay, sorry, Emilio, not Frank, posted that one. It works really nicely. I like the curve on the bridge, but I don't like it enough to keep it in the photo. I would actually be tempted to go right in and just make the reflection the focal point. Give it a bit more symmetry. So you could take a little bit off the top, maybe to where the purple railings start. Then you'd have an almost identical match with the reflection. And I think that would make it a bit stronger. And another thing that's always good fun to do with reflections is invert them and they look like paintings. That would work with this one too. It's a nice image. Well done. And again, this one, you've got the human figure, you've got the bicycle, absolutely beautiful colors. It's on a corner somewhere and the photographer's taken the step back to get that in, so you can see exactly where it is. There's a little bit more graffiti on another wall behind it to the left, which is equally as colorful. Don't know where it is. It reminds me of London, but I'm guessing it's not. Please tell us where these are on Facebook. But yeah, nicely captured, nicely handled. Wouldn't change anything about that. And again, this one, at first I thought it was a hat, but it's not, it's the red button. So another, I think, kind of political statement piece of art. And I like the guy looking at it. Ah, am I thinking now? Yeah, it must be London because I'm looking at the postcards. Anyway, yeah, nicely done. Again, I wouldn't change anything about it. I think it's nicely captured. I think the context is great. I think what it's saying is really nice. And I do like the inclusion of the guy looking at it and seeming to be considering what will happen if the red button gets pushed, which I think we're probably all thinking at the moment.
It's Vivian.
And it's Vivian, yeah, and that's the last of them. And a nice title slide again with a little bit of reflection in a puddle. So that's it. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. I really enjoyed looking through them. It's one of my favorite things to photograph and one of my favorite things to see in the street anyway, is street art. And I think just generally everybody did a really good job with those. That was so much fun.
Yeah. Then now
Um,
I'm going to post your
yeah.
choice.
I selected 5. It's always so difficult to do this because there could always be 10 or 20 favorite photos, but I'm really strict with myself, so I just chose 5. Sorry if your photo's not here or if your favorite's not here. This one, like I said, I think it's my favorite in the whole challenge. I want to print it and hang it on my wall. I think it's beautiful, from Dave. This one from Harry, absolutely love that. Sugar Factory, now I know where it is, which is good. Marlene's with the beautiful neon colours. Rod's street photo from Madrid Metro. And Sarah's with the horizon. That's 5. It was very difficult to pick them. I wanted to include Emilio's snail. I wanted to include a couple of jeans. I wanted to include Vivian's reflection. I wanted to include Trevor's. I mean, I could have gone on for 20 of them. So if yours wasn't there, it's not because I didn't think it was brilliant. I did. It's just because I was really strict with the 5. But good, well done.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you, Rachel.
Well done.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Really good critique. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
thank
yeah.
you. Maybe I should do them all at 2 o'clock in the morning. No, it's like I said, it's one of my favorite things to photograph and one of my favorite things to look at. And the quality there was really high, so that was easy to do. And I will put on Facebook some of mine where I've used the intentional camera movement and made them abstract, just so you can see something different you can do with graffiti.
Very good.
Thank you.
I will ask the people when I post their pics on Facebook to put the place where they took the photo.
Definitely, yeah. Tell us where they are. I would love to know. Especially because, I mean, they're obviously from different countries. Berlin's in there, Chile is in there. It'd be great to know where they all came from.
Harry and Jean's Sugar Factory looks tremendous.
Doesn't it?
Yes.
Where is it? Where is the sugar factory?
Yeah, it's fabulous. It's near Nerja on that coast going down there. It's wonderful. And spend days in there.
Must go
You
there.
could use it for so many challenges. It would work for the abandoned challenge, the symmetry challenge, the pollution challenge. It's endless.
I took 4 for the abandoned challenge and the pollution challenge while we were there.
Look forward to seeing those.
Yes, a good place. And then
Yeah, it was
Rachel, are you going to sleep now?
Probably not. I'm going to have some more coffee. I have to teach somebody in a couple of hours. So I had some sleep before this. I went to bed at like 7 o'clock or something yesterday, so it's fine. Have some breakfast. And then maybe go to the beach. Maybe I can get to the beach for sunrise with the camera.
You can do like Trevor. You can go to the stars, sky night photography.
The only problem is because it's Pacific coast, we get the sunset and not the sunrise, which is a shame because early morning is when I usually go to the beach. So I have to like really plan it and make an exception to go there in the evening to get the sunrise, but it will be done this week.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much again, Rachel.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all. Yeah, no, thank you for the images. I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
A great selection of the top 5.